Cwmbran has countryside, beautiful hills, trees, views down to the Severn estuary and across to Portishead. Apart from that, until I joined the Ancient Cwmbran project, I wasn't aware that there was all that much more Cwmbran had to offer, apart from roundabouts. It's seen as a new town. In the 50s and 60s, people moved here from all over Britain, but there's so much more to the area than that. A few years ago, some local people in Thornhill did research into St Derval, a local saint. They found out that a pilgrim route ran from Llantarnam Abbey right through Cwmbran and up onto the mountain. It started to become clear that Cwmbran had a long history. That sparked a lot of interest in what was here before the concrete.
30 odd years ago, my wife and I bought a house in Wellington Drive, which backs on to Green Meadow Wood. I used to take the dog for a walk regularly. I started finding walls, remains of walls, and the more I looked, the more I found. But I couldn't get anybody interested. Most people thought I was talking through the back of my head. I was more determined then to learn more about these walls.
I had taken an educated guess that there would be a great deal of interest in history in a new town. Not really having a history of its own in the sense of a Cwmbran and being branded as this new town that starts in the 50s and not really linking it to its cultural heritage, which is very, very rich in this area. But what really surprised me was the overwhelming enthusiasm for archaeology, for history and research.
We had help and advice from lots of organisations, including the National Museum of Wales, Cardiff, the University of Wales in Newport, Glamorgan Gwent Archaeological Trust and Cwmbran Museum Trust. The Regeneration Department of Cwmbran Council helped us put together a partnership to take the project forward and to develop a bid for funding. The community's first team were incredibly supportive. Cwmbran Historical Society were on the partnership board along with academics and archaeological specialists. The funding came from the Heritage Lottery Fund, Cwmbran Council and Cwmbran Regeneration Partnership.
I don't know of any other project to my knowledge that I've ever been involved, or I've seen for that matter, in Cwmbran, where there's so much excitement. You can actually cut the air when you go in and listen to them. By the month, the project is developing better and better and bigger. There's lots of people excited about it, not only those in Cwmbran that's taking part of it, but also people from around Gwent and indeed from around the country. They've got their eye on what's going to happen. And everybody will have enjoyed themselves on the route because, as Richard said, we're on a journey to discover more about St Derval, and I think everybody is enjoying it. I'm certainly enjoying watching it.
It was interest from local people that started this project off. Their curiosity and determination ensured the project's success. From the beginning, people were keen to get involved. At the launch meeting, the volunteers signed up to get involved with the parts that appealed to us most, from art to archaeology to growing medieval crops.
I enjoyed finding out more about the pre-industrial history of Cwmbran. We had some fascinating visits to sites like Llantarnam Abbey and some very interesting field trips.
Now this is an interesting piece. Yeah.
That was right in under the moss. You can see that it's all cleared the moss.
I know, it's all like it. Every piece seems to have bits on it.
The talks and lectures told us a lot about the Silures, the Romans and the Cistercians.
which was fine when it was your local church and your local priest. It got a bit more tricky when the tithes were, as we would nowadays say, top sliced, and some of them went to another religious organisation.
It's basically a good thing that the geology is really closely related to the park. And the Cistercian way was a way to Cwmbran using the geology of the mountain.
Looking at the LiDAR map, which is aerial laser photography, was really intriguing. It showed up many more places to investigate, far more than we could cover in the current project. Old maps and documents tell you quite a lot, but they only go back so far. We want to try and find out how old the pilgrim route was. We also wanted to know what the surface of it looked like and what it was made of.
We have found some very interesting features. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to date them, but as you say, they certainly raised a lot of questions, and there's a lot of potential there for future research and future investigations.
We have a cobbled area on one side and a channel on the other side.
Yes.
So it almost looks like some kind of ancient dual carriageway we've got going on here.
It's a very interesting way of putting it. Yeah, it certainly seems a slightly more sophisticated arrangement than we first expected.
The walls in the woods were a total mystery. No one had any real idea about what they might be. The archaeologists called them double-flanked linear constructions.
The way that the stones have been laid are beginning to suggest that this is firstly significant in terms of its importance for the people who lived in this area, and secondly it's beginning to suggest a period much earlier than might have been thought. Just looking at the size of the stones and the way they are laid, that we can forget anything after the Norman conquest, and the debate now is about where before Roman or after Roman these walls were laid. It's certainly got important implications for what was going on in this area, probably a long time before we've ever thought of looking at settlement in this part of Cwmbran before.
There's a feature in Fairwater Woods which looks like it could be a burial chamber. A Stone Age axe head was found near there when they were building Fairwater High School. We had a short dig there, but we didn't reach any conclusions.
As we've got what could be a possible structure here, and we've still got stones within the section, the original section, or the limit of excavation of the original transport. So yes, we've extended it now to reveal the stones and in the entirety, and to see if we've got any other evidence of the structure continuing. Well, the structure is very badly damaged, so we've only got photographic evidence of what it looked like, and it was, at least in some way intact. I would say that we haven't got any burial, but I'm pretty sceptical of the view at present until we find any conclusive proof that not any bone, nothing at all, it seems.
Like you were saying yesterday, like steel boundary and a point of reference.
Yeah, I would still stick with that hypothesis.
We're getting views that it's a chapel, and we're getting views that of some other source that it was probably a farmhouse, which puts pay to any ideas. But the idea of this, we hope it's going to be, is give a bit stronger proof to one way or the other. And as Jana says, who's interested in a pile of stone?
Have we just a Cistercian Grange house, or have we the site of an ancient Celtic abbey that dates back 600 years before the Cistercians?
Or does it only relate to the drovers' route from there up to Hereford across to London? Why are there big boulders there?
Yeah, why is there huge lines
They couldn't
of
have walked
stone?
through them, and when you look at the old gateposts, they're wider than the brick line.
Yeah.
So somewhere on there, I feel they've been placed.
We're going to try two techniques. We're going to try magnetometry and resistivity. They both look at slightly different things. What I'm hoping for in relation to the ruin that we've got down there in the field is the resistivity might pick up some foundations of any other buildings that might be in the area. Magnetometry, that's more likely to find us some ditches or ploughed out banks or something like that. But really it's trying to find out if there are other field arrangements, other boundaries. I'm really hoping that the magnetometry or the resistivity will turn up some data which will show maybe a phased set of buildings. You know, that's what we're ideally hoping for.
Our field walks at Llantarnam Abbey and other local sites turned up a lot of finds.
We were approached by Sister Anna of Llantarnam Abbey because she had ploughed a land near to the abbey on the monastic lands and asked us if we would like to field walk.
We now have evidence that strongly suggests that people have always lived in this area, probably since the end of the last ice age.
We get rabbit holes and things like that. Especially if there's any flint or bits and pieces trapped in the mound, then you may find that with the bits of flint it will be kicked out from further inside the mound. A good chance of finding bits and pieces around animal holes.
We found hundreds of items whilst digging and field walking, flint tools, pottery and all sorts of interesting things. It all had to be properly bagged and recorded, and we found out how to do that too.